Mocha, Hosh Omadid, and welcome to this Thursday stream of Las Plumas de Simur. Hi, my name is Plumas, and I'm going to be your host for the rest of the evening. In what a lovely day, and what a fantastic moment to talk about yet again the Achaemenids and their capital cities. Vizier, please drive safely, and please let me know when you get home, because I worry about those things. It's like, I don't know why, but Triviño thesis is not playing, even though I asked Streamlabs to do so. Doesn't matter. How's everyone? I am very happy. It's been a very nice week, and it's been cold, which I adore. I rejoice in the sentiment of being cold and nepe, and I love a good warm cuppa when it's actually cold outside, because yes, I am one of these kind of people that would drink tea under every atmospherical circumstance, meaning that if it's 85 degrees Celsius out there, still gonna pour me a cuppa. If it's 10 below zero, I'm still gonna pour me a cuppa. But I admit that in the frozen, which is not frozen, that is a bit of an exaggeration, but in the proper cold weather, tea tastes even better. So I hope everyone's doing very well. And today I am very excited to bring a topic that was picked up by my patrons. And you know what? It's one of these things in which I know exactly what I'm asking and who I'm asking it to, because maybe you didn't know this, but if you support me on Patreon, my mid and highest tier have this perk that they get to vote which topics are gonna come for the next month. And I know that, and I say that I know because I acknowledge I am guilty for this behavior. I've created this behavioral pattern. I'm very much aware that if in the list of topics there is the slightest glimpse to something even remotely Achaemenid related, my patrons are going to pick that. They're going to choose it. I still give options, because sometimes the element of surprise is always there. Sometimes always. Oh my god, I can speak. Sometimes the element of surprise is there, but who am I kidding and who am I trying to fool here? My patrons are people that have been following my project for quite a while, and I mean some of them from back to 2015 even. But I got Patreon in 2020, so they support me since I opened it. And they have been educated and modeled according to my own standards, which stand basically to choose, pick, select anything Achaemenid related before any other option. And I'm happy about that. I'm not complaining. This is not a complaint whatsoever, but it's just I wanted to give people the opportunity to decide about other topics. Am I making a fool of myself? Possibly. And also I need to tell you, hi Serapis, hello Umberto, how are you? I need to tell you something very, I'm going to say funny. Let's say it's funny. Yeah, funny as in funny weird, because you know how I mentioned sometimes that I live with a spirit here in my house, a djinn that lived in a clock. You live in the clock. I'm saying we because behind the green screen he's there. And that sometimes things happen at my house, and of course, even though they might have a perfect logical explanation, I always think, and it amuses me to believe it is this djinn. Recently, I finally gave this djinn a name, although it's a name in Spanish, because Spanish is my mother tongue, and I called him Íñigo. Íñigo is a mixture between the word djinn and Íñigo, which if you have ever delighted yourself with the wonderful film which is Princess Bride, you know the most famous Íñigo of them all, which is Íñigo Montoya. And he's one of my childhood heroes. So of course the djinn had to be called Íñigo. So Íñigo, since receiving a name, has been surprisingly more active. And I said this because I have these little shoe tray with some doors in which I keep my shoes, and I've opened it searching for my slippers, and there was only one there, which is weird because I remember I had them both on when I take them off. This morning when I took them off, and I leave them there because it does make sense. I was wearing both slippers before going to work, and there was only one there. I spent solid 15 minutes looking for the other one, and I've opened the little tray again, the shoe tray, and it was there. The second slipper. I swear to you, Bacha, when I opened that the first time, the second slipper was not there. I have a witness. It might have been stuck in like an inside part of it and the movement, but I don't care. I know for certain it's Inigo. I know it's him because I don't know if this is the way he's having to tell me that he's happy about his new name. But by the way, Sariel, my dear, if you're watching this, you want to talk about designing, Inigo. What the people in Susa used to est sausages. To eat sausages. Oh God. All right, so I see that Serapis is here with full ammo. And, keep them coming. Keep them coming because yes, indeed, today we are going to talk about the wonderful Achaemenid city of Susa. And I will try it and pronounce Susa in the most Spanish way I can because I love the Spanish intonation of like Susa. Hello, Ulaco! There is also a self-reinforcing factor when it comes to choices. The more you learn about the Achaemenids, the more interesting the topic will be. Yes, and I was not complaining. I was just stating a fact because the situation, I'm not going to lie, is quite funny every time I offer you the topics to vote. And I know, but still, I make you go through the process of the poll because I like it, because I like to peep inside your minds and try to imagine what you're thinking. And when I'm correct, that is an adrenaline shot. Okay, so today, my beloved butcher, stories of Inigo aside, don't worry, there's more to come. I am frankly sure there's more to come. And hey, Inigo, if someone replies to me, I'm gonna lose it entirely. Please, Inigo, as you're here, be quiet. I'm live. Okay. So today, Bacha, we're going to talk about Susa, and I named the session City of Kings because it has been the city of multiple monarchs throughout the ages. Yeah, it is quite blocky because it's easy to work this way. Also because it tailors the necessities. I mean, a room, whenever possible, is going to be a square or a rectangle because it's easier to then organize whatever you have inside. Is this firmly established from archaeological studies? Absolutely. This is a reconstruction of the Palace of Darius the First in Susa by the wonderful people at achaemenid.com or .net, I'm not sure, but definitely is a website I encourage you to visit. .com, is it achaemenid.com? I'm going to look it for you. I'm going to post it in the chat, and I have it by default I have it in English, but you also have it in French in case you speak that language. I don't, unfortunately. I can navigate my way around it, yet it would be a little bit cocky for me to say that I speak French. I absolutely don't. Umberto, you spoke French, didn't you? I reckon there's someone here, like within the Bachar, there's someone that speaks French, and I don't know who that is. Well, I know Grégoire, one of my friends. He's not that he speaks French. He's French, he's a native speaker. So I know he catches this later. So hi, Grégoire, I miss you. And so yeah, they know what the roofs look like too. Impressive. Yes, you can actually see that. You can reconstruct that from. I'm not an archaeologist, but I'm trying to give a proper explanation. You can learn about that, given how the foundations are also based in all the people's drawings, and there is a technique. There's techniques to learn about these. And generally, these roofs, especially the bigger, the big holes with the columns. Given that we preserve Persepolis, which had a very similar structure to Susa, it's quite solid to take this guess, because Achaemenid architecture it's quite homogeneous based on what we preserve or what we have been able to study. But yeah, given that Susa looked pretty much like Persepolis, it's not an off guess. It's a very good reconstruction. I really liked it. What is that? Yes, I live in a French-speaking land for years, and I do speak French, but not too well, enough to read archaeology purpose. Then I know who I need to turn, whenever my French needs a need. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I was trying to look for an image to be able to show you after, and not this one. Which one? I have so many. Not that many, honestly. Like not that much, but I think I'm gonna go with this one because I like it. Okay, Susa. I was saying that Susa, this session was named City of Kings because Susa has been the city of multiple monarchs throughout the not centuries but millennia. Susa is a wonderful city packed with history and things to learn, but because I am a walking stereotype, and so are my patrons, by the way, since they decided the topic for the month, today we will be talking about Susa as an Achaemenid capital, as one of the City of Kings that often, sadly, falls under the shadow of her better-known sister, an absolutely terrific Instagram material, Persepolis. Because perhaps you did not know this, but Susa held a position that was as relevant, if not more, than Persepolis herself. What we will be discussing here today is Susa as a capital through the years, because I would love to explore just the palace of Darayavush. Some of the time, there's just so much. There's just so much to show you, and trust me, I had to drag my butt out of the Achaemenid rabbit hole more than once while the creation and research for this stream, like so many times. Isn't Susa from Sumerian times? Asks Uloko. If you're meaning that Susa was already around by the 3rd millennium before Common Era, then you stand correct. There is foundation in Susa, there's evidence of settlement from at least the 3rd millennium before Common Era, which is a while. But we are gonna focus on something else today. Alright, Butcher, grab a cuppa, grab a snack, grab your pet if you're that lucky, and let's dive right into it. But first, okay, I asked this question because you know what? You know me a bit, I hope. So you know that I've been a teacher at uni, and for many years I taught, and I have a Twitch channel in which I basically talk about stuff I'm passionate about in a very close fashion to what I would consider teaching. And I have a teacher living inside me. I love it. I am not denying that I enjoy being a teacher. So I asked this the last time in Spanish in this kind of like, you know, this kind of way of like, you know, getting people involved into what I was saying, but I don't know if this was a little bit off. Anyway, I'm going to try again because why not? I mean, this is my mountain. This is my Twitch channel. Nobody can tell me what to do. I said we're going to talk about Susa, and I added, but first, what is it that comes first? What is it? If someone did a PhD, then they probably had to teach. Sometimes you do, but in Spain, you could go throughout the whole PhD situation without teaching. I know that for a fact. And in my uni, it was the same. You chose to teach if you wanted to, but perfectly you could pass without that. Like, in all honesty, it would be like just okay for you to work on your thesis and that's it. What is it in everything when approaching, you know, any topic that goes first? And well, the answer is context. Oh, I'm sorry, Lulu June. I kicked you. I punched you. context. Of course, we are going to look at various maps to locate ourselves in space, since we will be talking about different kings. Therefore, I will give the proper dates as we go. We don't have a particular when for this stream. Rather, we'll be moving along different rulers. Also, I invite you now to post in the chat which ones do you think those kings will be that we will be talking about during the live stream. Just remember, I am as predictable as a Hallmark holiday film. I am. What is that, Loco? Are all those groups on the map existing contemporaneously? Yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. This is the situation of Elam around... Oh, I knew this date. I have it... It's prior to the race of Anshan as a kingdom. I would say, like, during the 8th to 7th, 8th, 7th, 6th century before Roman era. So, back to the maps. Susa, we can see here, originally called Sushen or Sushun by the Elamites, Sush by the Achaemenids, and Susiana by the Greeks, was one of the city-states / capital of the ancient Elamite kingdom, located southwest to the Zagros Mountains. The plain where the city was built is gently caressed by 3 different rivers. The Karchekur, known in Greek as the Choaspes, Choaspes, Coaspes. Okay, Umberto. How do you pronounce in Greek CH? Like t, or like k? Or is it like a ch? Because I know, I'm pretty much aware that it's not a ch. So, is it Coaspes? Is it Choaspes? You know, very Spanish. I don't know. Oh, you don't know how to pronounce Greek? How dare you? No, I don't. Do you know how to pronounce Persian? Happens that I do. One day I need to sit with another Cooper and tell you how many times I've been attempted, because I've never been ashamed of my knowledge, attempted to be ashamed for not knowing things about Greco-Roman culture, history, art history, whatever. So many. 0 times those attempts have been successful. I don't know how to pronounce things in Greek. So the 3 rivers are the Karchekur, the Abedes, and the Karun. What is that? I think the correct way is like a Spanish ch. Oh, so like Joaspes. Okay. If you have not 1 but 3 rivers, then it must make a great trade center. Precisely, and not just a trade center. It makes a perfect settlement place. Because the Zagros Mountains, have you been? I haven't. Not yet. But the Zagros Mountains are harsh. They are difficult. They are powerful mountains, and they bring cold and dry airs towards the land. Yet, having these valleys with 3 rivers made the land and the soil so fertile that it facilitated so much the settlement of people, and that is why Susa is placed at a very, very strategic point. Currently, the archaeological site is surrounded by the modern city of Sush. Allow me to show you. Do we have another picture? No, that one. Oh, I must have removed it. So this one over here is the modern city of Sush. You can see that dotted line in red. That intermittent line designates what people have called the royal city or the hill. And then the Tel des Artisans is the rest of the settlement. Although we don't know exactly who was living there. There's a lot of complications when excavating Susa. I will get to them in a moment. So yeah, the modern city is surrounded by the ancient archaeological site is surrounded by Sush, the modern capital, in the province of Khuzestan in Iran. Interestingly enough, the name Susa is a direct derivation from the original Elamite name, albeit borrowed from Hellas, but we can skip that. I just wanted to know that not all the names and labels and everything do come from Greek or Greece. No, actually, Susa is a pretty close name to the original Elamite one, so just that. Okay, so is the area earthquake prone? Not this one. No, not particularly. The southeast of Iran is much more likely to suffer from earthquakes. Okay, so let's state something from the beginning. Susa's remains are scarce, and allow me, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is what I mean. There's little things that, I mean, there is a lot regarding foundations and plenty to study from the art historical and archaeological perspective. But definitely, if you're expecting to see something similar to Persepolis today, I'm about to disappoint you. Persepolis remains one of a kind, but Susa must have been pretty similar in both structure and artistic deployment. And I want you to make this projection, if you may, imagination exercise and try to portray these foundations as tall buildings, such very close to the ones that you would see at Persepolis, or like, you know, the one in the reconstruction, like the city, at least the royal palace would look something like this. Those look like they've been renovated in modern times. They have been, and it's not so much so renovated, but what's the word in English? They've been. I'm going to look for the word because I want to be precise with this one. They've been secured. They've been salvaged somehow, because Susa was a hot mess not so long ago. And by not so long ago, I mean 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It was the situation. Okay, so the Disneyfied, no, not even. They just settled. The archaeological missions, what they did was settling the foundings in order for them not to get more and more destructed by time and the elements, because there's nothing, as you saw, there's nothing protecting the remainings at Susa. It's just that. It's just, they are just there. So in order to get a better glimpse of what some parts we preserve, they even the surface, which is correct. For example, these area in here is called the Gate of Dara. And yes, the surfaces have been evened, or like smooth, we could say, but the rest of the site remains untouched. The tweaks and things that have been done around were in order to secure the remainings in an attempt for them not to be completely destroyed in another 20 years, because the archaeological situation in Iran is precarious, and anything that dates from before the Islamic arrival into Iran, before the Rashiduns and the Abbasids come and conquer the Sasanians, everything prior to that is pretty much overlooked, kept around since it brings a lot of money because of the tourists, but just, kept the same way you would keep something in a corner. The government doesn't pay much attention to it and doesn't investing any fundings to preserve these archaeological heritage. Therefore, things like that, which are no perfect solution, but at least there are something, need to be done. Would you care for an anecdote about my visit to Iran? When I was there, I entered, there's two museums very close, and those both are fantastic content-wise. One of them is the Islamic National Museum in Tehran, and the other one is the Archaeological National Museum. I make door to door, like less than 100 meters apart. And I entered first the archaeological one, and it was wonderful in the sense that there were so many items there, from pieces of buildings to tile work, crockware, silverware. Yeah, and I know what I mean. Silverware, this is like utensils made of gold and silver, textiles, ceramics galore, even statues. But they were just there. In the broadest sense you could possibly fathom. There. Left there. Just imagine, what is it, like lines and lines of glass cabinets, one after the other, containing stuff. Multiple stuff was unlabeled, and you could venture what one thing was or the other, and it was so sad. so sad, because I felt like I was missing out in a quite a notorious amount. Like there was so much that I was not knowing, and I would love to come back, because now I time has passed and I know a bit more than I used to, and I would love to go back there and see those remainings again. Maybe I would be able to identify one or two or three if I'm lucky. Okay, so let's talk about the archaeological site. It was first excavated by Henry Rawlinson and then by Auguste Layard, someone we remember mostly for his incredibly detailed and thorough drawings of ancient sites and artifacts. If you have ever seen a drawing of the Anzu bird and Ninurta, the Mesopotamian god from the remains of Nineveh, that is by Layard, and so many others. Although the drawings of Auguste Layard at Susa, they're not great, because since the ceilings did not remain, I didn't bring this image because I didn't want to have that in the stream, since it's quite off. But when they attempted to reconstruct the Palace of Darius, since the ceilings did not remain at all, they gave the buildings the same appearance, the roof, like the triangular roof for like the ones in Greece. And if you look at it without any explanation, you think you're looking at the Acropolis at Athens, and it's quite hilarious. Like, I don't know how this one used to look, but I've been in another super famous archaeological site and they had them roofs. So what if, which in all honesty, good for them, they wanted to finish the building, but I didn't want to bring that because that is something we can do some other time, like comparing what it really was to what the 19th century people believed it was. The wonders of Orientalism. Anywho, so if you might have seen multiple drawings of Layard. Maybe you didn't know they were from Layard, but they were. They were all the archaeologists / adventurers, the wonders of Orientalism. They were all the people coming and going. But from the decade of 1880, from the 1880s, all the missions that were organized and authorized were by the French. Like all the organization and authorization of the missions, the archaeological missions, had to go through the French government. This is one of the reasons why there are so many artifacts and literal parts of the city of Susa at the Louvre Museum, among other collections. Of course, said excavations did not just unearth Achaemenid time artifacts. Nay, there was a pick and mix of stuff. Have you been to the Louvre Museum? Because if you want a tip, the Susa Hall, it's wonderfully I don't know how to say this museified? Museum-fied? We have a word in Spanish. I don't know if it exists in English, but you let me know. It's wonderfully displayed, but it is always empty. And by empty, I mean that when I was there, it was me and two Iranian guys there. And they have the immortals there. And that is a big statement. So if you want to enjoy Susa, don't go to Iran, go to the Louvre Museum and just walk through the whole. I have a picture of the hall, but we will see that, in some other time. I'm going to show you the map. Did you remember? Oh, I'm going to put the one before. So do you see that? That is the Achaemenid Susa. Can you see that like all the night? It was gorgeous, but sad is not better known. I mean, sad on the one hand because, yeah, we want everyone to know about Susa and the Achaemenid. Yet, given how the Louvre Museum normally is, I had zero complaints, like, pretty much enjoyed having the place to myself and the time and the silence, because my God. And I'm not one to prohibit that people talk in museums. No, museums are public spaces. Like they are. Okay, there's something. I have to go to something. I have a thing with museums. I do not enjoy them that much. And I don't even think they are that useful. Don't come at me. I'm an art historian. I am allowed to talk about these things. But at least for the things I study, museums represent temples of theft. And they have this aura around them, this sacrality that one cannot pierce through, because if you do, you're frowned upon, meaning you cannot talk in a museum. Sure, you cannot yell or run around or shriek to the top of your lungs in a museum, but so you don't in public spaces that you share with humans. Like, you don't start screaming in a cafeteria. You don't start screaming in, a coffee shop or like a library. No, a library is a bad example. A bookshop or a comic book store. Or like, you don't do that, but you are definitely allowed, you should be definitely allowed to talk in a museum, to share the experience with the people you are close to, exchange impressions and such. Yeah, I don't like museums. Kiss in the forehead to my lovely friends working in museums. I love you. You are fighting a good fight. And thanks to you, we preserve a lot of artifacts and I acknowledge your task. Yet I have a complicated relationship with that. I like with the reading of the Book of Kings, I don't ask you to like it. I just ask you to understand it. And where's my royal city? So yeah, so that part highlighted and they delineated, outlined in red is the Achaemenid area of Susa. As you can see, it was bigger than that. And let's do a bit of backtracking regarding Susa and more generally Elam itself. By the way, if you wish to learn a little bit more about Elam, we have a live stream about an historical, historiographical, oh my God, that word, introduction, also in the channel somewhere in YouTube. Oh no, I don't care that much about YouTube. So by the mid-7th century before Common Era, the Assyrian registered that Elam did not exist as a unified political entity, not anymore. We love the Assyrians because they noted down absolutely everything. Thus, we have a bunch of labeled neo-quote-unquote Elamite kings that we are not very sure where to locate. The chronology is also tricky to reconstruct, even if sometimes we preserve texts that attempt to tie a king to a particular spot. So traditionally, it is said that Elam was incorporated to Cyrus's conquest around 539, 540 before Common Era, at least according to some scholars, because there is debate in here. And I can hear Umberto clapping at home, because if he likes something is historiographical debate. The scholars traditionally gave this date to the incorporation, not conquest, incorporation of Elam to Cyrus's domains because that is when Cyrus conquered Babylonia. That subtlety is important. Cyrus conquered Babylonia, meaning he used military forces. Like he mobilized troops. Yet he incorporated Elam to his domains, because we don't know how that developed, how that unfolded. So supposedly, yes, Cyrus would have taken Sush at that time, at around 539, 540 before Common Era. But there is nothing known about this annexation to the dismembered Elamite territories, to the new domains of the king of Anshan. I mean, how to put this? We don't know if this was A, peaceful conversation, or B, a bloodbath. There's just no evidence, no sources. There's nothing. Let's see another picture. What we can see now. Oh, I can show you the structure of the propylaeum. I don't know how to say propylaeum in English, because this is a word I rarely use. Hello, Mancho. How are you? So good seeing you here. I don't know how propylaeum is said in English, and I am not ashamed of that. What is regardless a propylaeum? Propylaeum is a Greek word that means the entrance to a temple. Normally, these porticoed, normally with a roof, entrance. This area that precedes the main space of a building. I don't like the use of propylaeum for this. Why is that? Because propylaeum is tied in a very specific context, which is Greek architecture, to sacred spaces, to places connected to religion, to places connected to the praise to the gods. And this has this sacrality, this aura of sacrality that implies that you are accessing another realm, or at least a space that is supposedly walking between realms. When we use this to describe just a porticoed monumental entrance, which is basically what this is, it's like it loses its meaning, because this is not the entrance to a temple, unless you consider that the whole complex that Dariush himself built was a temple for his persona, which, you know what, I'm not going to fight you on that. I can buy that. I can buy that argument, absolutely. But you see, propylaeum is not a proper word. At least it doesn't work for me. It doesn't do it. Why? Because this is not the entrance to a temple. This is a monumental, massive entrance to a palace, to a very secular space, a palace, at least a palatial complex. Let me show you how the southern room of the propylaeum looks like. You're gonna love it. Ta-da! Oh my god. It's not painful to watch, but it's definitely a wee bit sad, innit? You can see this still reveals interesting things. For example, the tiled floor. Or at least there's an effort to put... Oh my god. That's scared. Okay, that is not Diego. It's someone else. But I wasn't expecting that, so sorry. I was startled. I was saying that the tiled floor is original from back in the Achaemenid times, and also we can see how the foundations were made and how there's rarely any curves in the construction of spaces. We have these cornered areas and these edges, like sharp edges, rather than just curves, meaning that there possibly a column or a pillar that was sustaining the roof. And I'm gonna keep on advancing because I've talked for a while. And I haven't said anything yet. What to show you? I think we can talk about this. We were talking about the conquest of Susa. Sorry, the incorporation of Susa to the kingdom of Anshan, and the debate that was. The version given by the scholar Jean Tavernier is that Cyrus established a treaty with the king of Sush as a result of which this king could retain his throne under the condition of being loyal to the Achaemenids. Sometime after, when Dara was already established as King of Kings, someone attempted to rebel in the satrapy of Elam to regain its former independence, yet Dara stopped them with quickness and ruthlessness. He conquered Susa again, thus what we study as the Neo-Elamite Empire was put to end quite dramatically. That is one version of it. Matt Waters, another scholar, he added that there exists the possibility that some ancestor or predecessor of Cyrus might have already conquered some of the Elamite territories. Thus, the annexation of Susa would have been relatively easy. Waters remains more skeptical with giving a date for the incorporation of Susa to the territory of the former Achaemenid Empire. And you might see that I keep on referring to Cyrus as not the Achaemenid king, but King of Anshan. Why is that? Because that is a title he used to refer to himself constantly throughout his life. He was King of Anshan, and he considered himself to be King of Anshan at all times. There's not one moment in which Cyrus considered himself to be an Achaemenid. We discussed this when we talked about Cyrus, when we talked about Dara, in the Achaemenid course that I did with Safe Cult or Hated Group, because that is something I truly believe. Cyrus was key and necessary to the Achaemenid Empire, but yet he's not the founder, because the founder to me is Dariush. This is not an argument to win or to lose, it's just a matter of opinions. But Cyrus referred to himself as King of Anshan, and that was important to his own self-defining narrative, because that entitled who he saw him, how he saw himself, who he thought he was, the heir of the kingdom of Anshan. You might have come across this inscription in Pasargada that says, "I, Cyrus the king, and Achaemenid," but that is not Cyrus's. That is Dariush's, because he did that sometime after. And if you want to learn why, you can, either watch my stream or just discover by yourself, because it's a fun story. I love that. So the first mention we have of Susa as being under the power of the king of Anshan is precisely the Cyrus cylinder. We have lines 30 to 32 that read, end quote, from Babylonian, added because it was lost, from Babylon up to Ashur and Susa, Akkad, Eshnuna, Zaban, Meturnu, Der, to the border of the Guti, the shrines on the other side of the Tigris that were erected long ago, the gods who dwelt in the residence, I returned to their places and I caused them to take up residence forever. End of quote. If we follow the translation of the cylinder, we can assume that Cyrus controlled all these territories since he could return the statues of the ancient deities to the temples, which something that granted him great popularity. However, there are still question marks regarding when this happened. For sure it did before the cylinder was made, since Susa is listed alongside all the areas, but we don't know when. And I am all on board with, not giving a proper date if we don't have one. We can say 540 Susa was already under control of the king of Anshan, but seeing that happened that year, we don't know, so we should not venture these things. Okay, let's speak about Susa in all the sources. The conquest of Susa appears in the works of Strabo, who says Cyrus designated Susa as the capital after the conquest of Media. But that is a tad weird, because we don't have any other testimonies regarding that. What am I implying? That a ancient Greek author might have invented some of the information? Yes. Come on. This is ancient history we're talking about. Is Strabo Greek? I don't even know if it's Strabo. I think Strabo's Greek. Greek? Roman? I don't know. Someone in the chat must know. And of course, we have Herodotus, our dearly beloved, who mentions in his histories that Susa was the capital of Dara's empire and makes, listen up, he makes 0 references to Persepolis being the capital. Does this mean Persepolis played a minor role compared to other cities? Nope. It means that okay, Strabo is Greek, but under the Romans, so both. So I was either both wrong or both correct. And since I am choosing willingly to see the glass half full, I was both correct. I said half, but in my head, that was terrible. I wanted to say double. My brain. I was either double correct or double wrong, and since I am choosing willingly to see the glass half full, I am choosing I was double correct. Allow me to tell me something about the Achaemenids. But the Achaemenids were practical people. Pragmatic, I dare say. They liked their things labeled, organized, and carefully placed in a distinctive spot so everyone around could guess at first sight where, how, and when to conduct themselves in any matter. Why am I being so verbose? First of all, hi, is this your first time here? Verbose is my middle name, basically. And second, what I mean is that Persepolis was the ceremonial capital. In other words, to put it lightly, festivities and royal ceremonies were hosted there, and it was also the administrative capital. I'm trying to come up with the word and I forgot. Got it. The symbolic capital, the heart of the empire. But the political capital changed, and Susa was one of them, particularly the winter capital, because yes, in this time and era, capitals are seasonal. And I have a question for you. I know nobody's going to answer me yet. I want to play teacher again. Where do you have him? Who could tell me who this is? I've seen this statue live 3 times. Not because I've been in Iran 3 times, but because I've entered the archaeological museum 3 times. So, does someone know in the chat who this beheaded gentleman might be? That's a hint. It's a man. It's a male. It's a he. I was gonna say supposedly to make a joke. No, he was definitely a man. Yeah, he was definitely a man. Does someone know? Okay, my lovely and shy butcher. It's Dara. It's Dara Yavush. And of him and no other, we will be talking now. Dara and his love for the city of Susa. Clearly, he adored this place more than any other in his whole empire. Because, yes, he has an empire, bite me. He established his personal residence here around 520 before Common Era, more or less. This is how Salam, yes, you have returned just to see. I was going to say his adorable face, but he has none, so his adorable bod. This is, I know, right? Every Dara moment is the best moment. This is how Dara found it. Oh yeah, I wanted to. Where's my royal city map? There you go. So this terrain designated as Sus Achaemenid. This is how Darius found the city when he decided to establish one of his residences here. And and the king delimited 70 hectares with a high embankment to enclose 3 hills that had been occupied beforehand. And inside, only the royal constructions are known. The buildings that have been excavated are concentrated in the north. So you see where it says Apadana, that is like the royal castle, the royal palace slash, yes, of course, sorry, I didn't, cheers to that, always, every time, yes. That area is a royal palace, so that comprises the whole palatial complex, all of it. And there is because there was a tell there, and if you know what you don't know what a tell is an artificially created hill due to archaeological remainings below, and there's like these coverings that happen naturally through time, and that is a tell, at least what we call a tell in ancient Near East archaeology. And in the northern part, there was also, if you look at the map here, there's an area called or labeled as Ville Royale, like the royal village. And on the and down there's a space designated, in a diagonal to the southwest. There's a space designated as the Acropolis. We don't know exactly what was there. We don't know. There's a little bit of difficulty because outside those walls, just one palace, the Shaul Palace up there has been discovered. But the buildings distinctly for storage or administration in the of the satrapy of Susa, because remember that Susa was the capital of the satrapy of Elam. They are not being found. They are not known. But they were there, certainly. Perhaps like the most likely hypothesis is that they were in the Ville Royale. But we haven't found, as if I were there, as scholars and archaeologists haven't found much there. And traces of common dwellings are extremely rare, which makes it difficult to reconstruct an overall image of what Achaemenid Susa used to look like. And the Achaemenid city is mainly Dada's work. I'm going to put up this one. Yeah, the main massive building was Dada's creation, and his son Xerxes completed certain buildings, but also built others that had not been identified. We know for certain sources and both inscriptions and tablets that Xerxes also constructed a palace for himself. He enlarged the one his father constructed, but he also created one for himself. And we haven't found that yet, unfortunately. I read an article that suggested that Shaul Palace might be Xerxes, but there was not enough evidence, and it was just, a hypothesis. And since we don't know, everyone's free to throw ideas in there. I think that helps a lot, the historical reconstruction and the assimilation of the historical discourse. And then 2 of the successors of Xerxes were also builders, or should I say rebuilders. Principally Artaxerxes II in the early 4th century for Common Era, according to the remains and inscriptions found inside and outside the royal city. Because, okay, so we have someone to blame here. Because, like with the other sister, Persepolis, Susa also suffered a great fire damage, notoriously. The fire, damaged notoriously the buildings and structures that Dada and Xerxes built. No, the fire was not that one you all thinking's fault. It was Artaxerxes I's fault. Well, not quite. During his reign, the place was severely damaged, and some decades later, his grandson, Artaxerxes II Mnemon, came to the rescue with a great restoration. That is the reason why we can find a great inscription labeled A2SA, in which he says he reconstructed the Great Hall, meaning the Apadana. A treat to your ears, Bacha. In his inscription, Artaxerxes says he rebuilt the space by the grace of Ahura Mazda, Anahita, and Mithra. he finishes by praying, and I quote, "May Ahura Mazda, Anahita, and Mitra protect me against all evil, and may they never destroy nor damage what I have built." End of quote. If you want to know a little bit more about Artaxerxes I or Artaxerxes II Mnemon, you should take So Do You Think You Can Rule Persia, the podcast, which I won't ever stop recommending because I think it's a solid recap and a very fun way of learning history about not just the Achaemenids, but the Achaemenids are the good ones. Do not be fooled, but what Umberto will try to tell you. The Seleucids are okay, they're fine, they're nice, but they're not the Achaemenids. The Achaemenids are definitely the good ones, the best ones. Then there's the Parthians and the Sassanids. We like the Parthians, we love the Sassanids, yet the Achaemenids are the best ones. That is not a suggestion for you to say anything, Umberto. That is just a statement. I mean, the sun rises from the east and the Achaemenids are lo mejorcito. The very best of the best. Estupendos. Okay, what do you say? We look at some art. Because among the most famous pieces that form the Achaemenid aesthetic belong, funny, to Susa and not to Persepolis. Well, Dada is winning for a reason. Of course he is. Of course he is. Like, it's... That you suggesting that someone might actually dethrone Dada? Dada? That is preposterous, Umberto. Preposterous. What's that, Uloco? Do we even know much about the Parthians? We do. Yes, we do. I mean, not much. Depends on what you mean by much. If you compare our knowledge of the Parthians to our knowledge of the Roman Empire, the Roman Republic, the Sacro Romanico Imperio Germanico, then no, we don't know that much. But we know things. Okay, art, as I was saying. We're going to look at these passing, striding, winged, horned creature. I called it a lion in the last live stream, but I was being unfair because this is a composite creature. And it's not a full lion in the sense that the lower part, like the second part, like the hindquarters of the creature are definitely birds. They are those from a bird. And I want you to look at those beautiful wings, this circle, this little spiral movement, this attempt to curve that they form at the top, because that is an inheritance from archaic, mostly sphinxes from Greece, and I love that. Because if we know something about the Achaemenid art is that it is eclectic, but not chaotic. What I mean by this is that they gathered all the elements from Salem Zahrab Hui, Khoshomadi. They gathered all the elements of the artistic languages they had around and about, and they turned them theirs in the sense that they created a whole new aesthetic with a distinctive Kulu-Pellet. And thank you, No Soy Rose. Yeah, that is the podcast that you can just click and follow them everywhere except for on the street, please. And they created this distinctive, I was saying Kulu-Pellet, and visual language that worked pretty much for them. But they did so combining multiple elements. Not only the Greek influence and the Greek art influence that's in there, but also the remains of the Babylonians and the Assyrians are also present in this picture. If you have been, or if you remember, or if you've ever watched a documentary about Mesopotamia, it will come to your mind the famous Gate of Ishtar. The Gate of Ishtar has these similarly passing, striding animals all over its surface, yet this creature is nowhere to be found. This apparently is a creation of the Achaemenids themselves, because we have lions and the Gate of Ishtar, we have the Mushushu, that are those adorable dragons, companions of Marduk. We have also cows, because Team Cow Forever. But this one This one we don't have. And also allow me to ask you something. Why do you think it is that when dealing with history of the Fertile Crescent, aka Mesopotamia, people include the Achaemenids? Why? It is not. It is definitely not in the Fertile Crescent. It's in the Iranian Plateau. So why is that? Because I've seen these as the cover of so many books dealing with Babylonia. You need to get your art better labeled, I'm afraid, publishing houses, or rather you could ask someone that actually knows. Are composite creatures a particular Mesopotamian thing? Ask Ologo. They're not, because we have them in Greece as well. We have the Sphinxes and Pegasus and Centaurs, and those are composite creatures. What I mean by what mythology generally means, and art history generally means with composite, is creatures that are made of different elements, are composed of different elements. A centaur is a composite creature. A chimera, I mean, I know the Greek original name of a chimera is the one that we might use. I don't like that because, again, that is a particular Greek Hellas-bound creature, and it's adorable. I love chimeras, but not this one. The manticore, for example, is another composite creature. A lamasu is a composite creature. There is a creature that is Scorpion Man, has a super difficult name in Akkadian, but that one could also be a composite creature. So yeah, that's other ones that I mean, it's a flying lion, bird, goat, cow. I like that. In a very similar fashion, we have this one, and unfortunately, those are not the original colors because I picked this picture because of the resolution. You can see the bow perfectly. However, this has been modified with Photoshop. The saturation is not as such. The color would be pretty much like the passing lion, but this is a passing bow, just a bow with the same wings inherited from the Hellenic, not the Hellenic, sorry, the archaic sphinxes from Greece. And look at those tiles. This is a technique which is called glazed ceramic, in which you cure, you burn, you cook. I like the idea you cook. You cook your ceramic in an oven after you've applied a coat of a very thick paste that makes it shine, because they have not lost their color, even though this is centuries old, and it's always beautiful to see. By the way, that one, the passing lion and the passing bull, they're both in the Louvre Museum if you were interested. And the Achaemenids picked this beautiful blue color from Babylonian and Assyrian aesthetics and incorporated it to their own language. And why am I saying incorporating it? Because they did. I mean, to whoever, but child, this is something serious. I'm going to put on my serious glasses. No, but for certain. Whoever tries to sell you the idea of a pure something is lying to you. There is no such thing as a pure Achaemenid aesthetic, not such thing as a pure Babylonian aesthetic or a pure Greek aesthetic. Purity is something that does not belong in our history at all. What happens is that different cultural hubs, different cultures themselves, gather the elements they have at hand, select those who are better tailored for their needs and tastes and values, like moral standards even of the time, and they shape the cultural and artistic language using them. Therefore, they're creating something new, because certainly this very much looks like the bow at the Gate of Ishtar in Babylonia. Of course, no one is denying that. Denying that would be a mistake, but also it would be a mistake implying that this is just a mere copy. Why would be that? Why impose the Achaemenid artisans and artists to practically mimify this image on the walls of the palace? Maybe they were evoking the same royal sentiment that the palaces of Babylonia had inspired them when they first entered there. Maybe this is tied to a much, much older tradition, because in Iran, in the Iranian plateau, cows have a distinctive nature. And if you want to know a little bit more about the importance of cows, you feel free to check the primordial cow stream, something that I really loved. What is that? So lately, Iranian and Italian archaeologists are working at the gate near Persepolis, which is called Cyrus's Gate, with some colourful bricks. Exactly. The Sapienza in Rome is just doing a fantastic work. It's just incredible how much they are unearthing and preserving in Persepolis. Purity feels more like the 19th century concept. You'd be surprised, Oloko, to how much, so much so today I still listen to people. Maybe they don't use the word purity, but they definitely imply it. This is Iranian, this is Achaemenid art. Yeah, but the Achaemenid art is a result of multiple factors that came after. Same as with any other art. The Renaissance art is a combination of factors, those that were present and those inherited from the past. And they just construct a different self-defining narrative. Because yes, I love those words. And yes, self-defining narrative is a thing, especially in our history. Look at these things. I love this one because it has the body of a lion, the wings of a sphinx that you can find in Hellas, and then the exact same head of Alama. So they even gave the Sphinx the headpiece with the horns that designates royal creatures and deities in Mesopotamia. Incredible. I love this one. And of course, we could not leave without seeing some of the architecture. This picture is a capital. This is also the Louvre Museum, and this is a capital that belonged to the Apadana of Susa. That is a capital. That voluted structure underneath the bowls is not the column, is not a pillar. That is just the capital. This was ridiculously big. Like I am very happy that even though there's people in the back, because there is people in the back and not close to it, you can get a nice idea of how big this thing was, because Butcha is otherworldly. Allow me to pull the image a little bit up so you can actually see the length of it. Incredible. And then we have the bowls, and the bowls are, listen, they're gorgeously crafted. The detail on the limestone, the carving, everything is just incredible. See, when we preserve things like this, we can know, we're able to know that the roof was, plain. It was just plain. Is that a good with like flat was the one I was looking for. The roof was flat because this is a structure that held it. And as you can see, this is a unique piece because it's preserved without separating. Sometimes the capitals just like split in the middle, and these one we preserve entirely. And of course, to the back we are seeing them, the ever incredibly famous Achaemenid warriors nicknamed the Immortals. Did you know that immortal was an invention for yours truly, Herodotus, because he mistook, so apparently there was this word in ancient Persian, in old Persian, that meant companion, but Herodotus, either himself or Herodotus's contact, confused it with the word immortal, and then Herodotus, who was a fan of spectacular things, thought, I got it. What is that? Last pre-Islamic animal human-shaped mystic creature, which we see on some Sasanian copper coins, is called Gupat Shah. Do you mean the Sphinx that I just showed? Is that the Gupat Shah? Nothing comes up with those words when I Google it. Maybe I should do that in Persian. Yeah, definitely I cannot. I don't see that, Sohrab. Are you sure I spelled it properly? Gupat Shah? Because I yeah, again, nothing comes up. And that's weird. No, not Gupta, Gupat. Ah, Gav. The animal like a cow. Do you mean this one? I mean, this one's not like a cow. It is a bull. It is a full bovine. Is this one the one you're referring to? With a human face, but that... Do you mean the lamasu? Because the one I showed, doesn't have the body of a cow. This one has the body of a lion. You can even see the tail, like surrounding its hindquarters. But is this the one you were referring to? Because yeah, it looks like a lamasu. Yeah, it definitely, the face was absolutely taken from a lamasu, 100%. I don't know the original name for this thing, at least not in English nor in Spanish. So I use Sphinx because, yeah, I know, vague, human face, lion with wings. But it is a Sphinx. It's just, instead of having a Greek statue head, it has a Mesopotamian / Fertile Crescent inspired Lamasu head. And, I wanted to show you the Persian warriors, who are incredibly detailed and beautiful. And yes, we can all fan boy, girl, person over them because they deserve absolutely everything. And oh wow, fantastic. You can also leave it on are you on Discord, Sohra? Because you can leave it there too, so everyone can see that. If you send it to me, I will post it too. And what I love the most about these depiction of the Achaemenid military elite is the attention to detail, because they're not trying to represent someone particularly, but the concept of their elite soldiers. What I mean by that is that the first one is not called Pepe, the second one is not called Jose, and the third one is not called Manuel el del Cuarto. We don't know who they are, but we know what they represent, which is, again, the elite force of the Achaemenid army. And while there is no emphasis in individualization, because that is not something they cared for at the moment, it was not required. That is something particularly modern, if I might say so. But they wanted to portray the immortals, at least the so-called immortals, as accurately as possible. And how do we know that? Because of the attention to detail. The way clothes are displayed, folded, and the way the droppings fall, the display of weaponry, lances, bows, bow cases, the way they adorn themselves with these headpiece. It could be, I don't know if that is cloth or not, could be. The shoes, the earrings, the bracelets, everything. In this homogeneity, there is individualization, meaning that you at first sight know what you're seeing. You know who you are standing in front. And these would cover the entrance of the Palace of Darius. Like the walls of the Palace of Darius will be covered in these type of ceramic, which, by the way, serves me to remind you, because I'm pretty sure you know this, but to remind you that the ancient past is not black and white in the case of the Mediterranean, and it's definitely not sand sepia color in the case of ancient Mesopotamia, Iranian Plateau, Egypt, because new modern media they do love to put this filter of sand color on top of everything they do. Yeah, exactly, because they are the ancient Near East, therefore there must be sand somewhere. Which is, yeah, I mean, there was sand, but also there were mountains and lakes and forests and plains. It's just, what's your point? And it's quite funny because everything remotely close to what we would consider ancient Near has this patina, this coat of sand brownish color. Because terrible, but they do. And I wanted to tell this is a very nice picture because the color is pretty much like this in person. When you see the immortals, I like this picture precisely because of that, because it's very close to the original color and the color you are able to contemplate once you stand in front of these beautiful, beautiful soldiers. And that is about it for today. Thank you, Bacha, for joining me in my again trip around the history of the world in order for people to love the Achaemenids, because I do. I love sharing these things with you, and thank you to my patrons again for choosing this topic. I appreciate so much. This is the topic I live for. It's just, although I'm lying, the Shahnameh is a topic I live for, but this one is very close by. I'll do a meme, bosses, que soy yo literal. Yes, please. Yes, we need that. We need that meme on the Team Panic. Thank you so much, Bacha, for joining me for today. I hope you have had a very nice time and that you learned something that perhaps you didn't know before. And if you did, that you reinforced and re-enjoyed it again. And I will see you next week, hopefully, in Spanish. But in the meantime, if you want to join our beautiful community and our beautiful mountain, you can join our Discord. And the link should be somewhere. And thank you, No Soy Ros. Oh, you are the very best. You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. It is not a stream if I don't sing Tu No Soy Ros, so that's on that. Thank you so much, guys. And Bacha, yeah, I think there's little for me to say except do not forget to create, to explore, and to have lots of fun. Until I see you next time, I bid you Khodafez!